Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Gray, and this is another episode of the Gray F podcast. And last week, to start with, I hope any of you is doing good. You have had a very good weekend, and you're looking forward to an amazing week as well. Last week, I announced that I was a little bit sick with the flu, and that went in hard. But now it seems that I'm getting better. I'm actually like 95% better now. So it's all good. And as I'm speaking to you now, it's 2:40 a.m. In South Africa. So that symbolizes that I'm good and I can get back to the hustle and like hustle hard again and get things done. And today we have an exciting guest. In fact, I won't have to talk very much in the intro because this podcast itself is quite very long. And I wanted to edit a lot of things out, but I just couldn't do too much of that because I feel like you guys will enjoy this. I certainly enjoyed having the conversation with Tom. So who is our guest today? Today we have Tomas Laurinavicius. He is from Lithuania. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Lithuania, I think that's how it's pronounced. Yeah, he's from Lithuania, and that's Europe, for some of you who do not know that. And he is an entrepreneur, he's a traveler, he's a blogger, but most importantly, he's a lifestyle designer. So he's the guy behind, if you know the blog, Lifestyle Designed. And he's always shares his concepts and what he's doing, and some important content that folks like you and me can find useful. So this specific podcast episode was more about a conversation with myself and him, just trying to I was trying to learn more about him, as well as we're just trying to share what kind of tools we use to be productive, and what kind of things does he do that makes him successful, or to keep him going. And we jumped into other things like relationships. I try to ask him his approach, because we tend to have similar approaches in life in terms of trying to learn from other people who have been doing good. And so it's all about reading books and watching other people that are doing, instead of experimenting with different theories. He doesn't just approach things out of the wild. So I was asking him about that, and we also spoke about personality traits. And he happens to be an ENTJ on Myers-Briggs scale, if that is, and I'm INTJ. So we spoke a little bit about that at the end, and we also talked about how to change personality traits. What are the things that you could try to change, and can you really change them? Which I think it happened to me, so I think most people can do it. And but most importantly, we talked about what it does, and we talked about self-awareness, and obviously productivity tools and hacks. So there are a lot of hacks and routines that we talk about. Just don't use them for evil, because these are double-sided tools which can be used for both. I mean, some of them. So I hope you found this helpful. For everything else that was mentioned in the podcast will be in the show notes, and books and the tools that were mentioned. I hope you found this helpful, and if anything, please let me know. And for more about Tom, you can find him on his blog. You can even email him. He actually does reply, and you can actually find out more about what he's doing, because he's also writing a book at the moment. So I recommend that you check him out. The link is definitely in the description. And as always, I'm out of here, and I'm actually proud today that I did a full-length intro without breaking or re-editing. This is just like one long-ass intro. So I'm pretty proud of that. Be proud of me. All right. Okay, enjoy my conversation with Tom. Thank you. How do you describe self-awareness?
Yeah, and probably I think everyone has self-awareness, but again, I think I mentioned about the imagination. So everything around us that's around us is highly based on our imagination. So a lot of things are fictional, and we collectively believe in them just because it's the way how we can operate as human species, because we have so many of us. And I think we often forget that many things are just concepts. They're just fictional things like businesses and brands and companies, organizations, money. These are fictional. These are not really like, tangible things that you can get any value from. But once people start believing in them, I think they have such a profound and powerful impact on our lives and generally just on the world, that it's the only way we can evolve and transform into more advanced species. So I think it's very easy to forget these things, and once you forget, you just take it for granted and you stop questioning the way things are, and you go to job because it's the way it's supposed to be, and everyone is doing that. But but then you need to come back to self-awareness. And self-awareness is, for me, in very simple words, is just seeing the way things are. So if it's raining, okay, it's raining. Why are you getting upset that you are not gonna wear your newest shoes to show off? Or why are you getting upset that you cannot go to that coffee shop that is in open air? So I think it's very important to kind of monitor your emotions and your feelings and your thoughts, because once you forget to see at the world the way things are, you start creating a lot of suffering, and you start creating a lot of delusional expectations, and these expectations do a lot of harm for us. So I believe that constantly monitoring what you're feeling, why you're thinking this should be this way or another way, and most of the time just denying the truth. So for example, if I'm trying to close a deal or land a new client for the agency I co-founded, and I see that the client is not interested, I deny it. I keep suffering because, like, what did I do wrong? Like, well, it's very easy. Maybe it was not the right timing. Maybe the service was not the right fit, or the client was not trusting us enough, or whatever the reason is. And once you accept the fact, okay, this is the fact. We just couldn't close the deal. Let's go get another one and try to do something better. So I think self-awareness is all about seeing the things the way they are and accepting them, because if you keep denying them, you just keep living in suffering and just surround yourself with a lot of delusion. So this is what self-awareness is for me, and what helped me is mostly what helped me to improve my self-awareness is gratefulness, so expressing gratitude, and meditation. So whether meditation, so for a lot of people, and I was very pessimistic about meditation because I'm not really spiritual or religious person, and I thought this is going to be some kind of bullshit, Zen and Eastern cultures and whatever. But I was just denying the truth because I was surrounded by all these stories, and then I never gave myself time to just sit down and observe what's happening around me, instead of just jumping into the next emotion, or giving up for the next thought, or whatever that was going on in my head. So I think expressing gratitude and really acknowledging what is surrounding me and being grateful for these things, and a lot of these things are just like luck, and I'm fortunate to be in the position where I am. So expressing my gratitude towards the things that surround me, and also observing what is going on around me. So whether it's observing my own breath, observing the noise, observing the environment around me. But for some people, it might be climbing. So I had a colleague in London in a design agency, and he was a climber. So he said, this is my kind of meditation. When you climb, you cannot really think about anything else. You have to be very present. Otherwise, you're gonna, like, injure yourself or you even die. So I think it's very important to find your own meditation. And for some other people, it's martial arts. You have to be so present, so focused, so committed. Otherwise, someone is gonna kick your butt. So I think everyone must find their own meditation and be in the present and see the things the way they are, because you cannot just expect something and give in into your emotional train or thought train, because these are going to take your mind very, very far from you. So I think this is what self-awareness is and how you can improve it.
I'm curious to know at one moment you became so self-aware, or you absorbed the concept of self-awareness. Because for me, it was when like I said, I read the book, The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. That kind of opened my eyes. Like, oh man, I've been wasting a lot of time and I haven't been doing a few things right. So it was more like, so for me, self-awareness became something like I'm more observant of how I feel and how I react to things, especially. Because before then, when I'm angry, for example, and I'm walking towards a meeting or meeting someone else and I have some stress from the previous thing that I was working on, I couldn't even notice that I'm angry, and I'm, going through life and other projects with the same barrier, and then it would just affect everything else. But now, when I'm angry, or I'm disturbed, I know. Then I tell myself, "Dude, you're angry." And then, the moment I catch that anger, I can feel my face muscles, my facial muscles, kind of releasing. Like, oh, hey, I was really in a bad state. Now I confronted it. It's coming open. Now I'm not angry anymore. But it's good, like that you say, when you know when you know the truth and you accept it, you kind of release it. You become free. Because once you deal with the facts, you name everything on a factual basis. Okay, this is what's happening. Like you said, a client don't want to work with you. You can come up with many reasons, but the moment you put the blame on them, you create more barrier on yourself.
Exactly.
Because you become, oh, what did I do wrong? Or maybe I would have done this. All the things that you can't change, they already happened. So when you accept the things, say, okay, this is what happened, there's nothing I can do about it. Those are the facts. I'm just going to move on. And that kind of self-awareness helps me to move on very quickly. But at what point did you become very self-aware?
Just one more point about I can highly relate to that thing that you said about, like, your face muscles relaxing or anything. So it's very interesting, because when I did my 10-day meditation retreat in northern Thailand, the teacher told us that, you have pain, and people create even more pain because they cannot accept it. They deny it. They want, like, I want this pain away, like, I don't want it in my body, whether it's headache or you have, like, I don't know, like back pain or whatever. So the moment you accept it, you instantly focus on that pain, right? So you bring your attention there, and you can actually release the muscle tension, because you are trying to resist it so much that it becomes so tense. So as you said, like your body, like your face or your shoulders, or even a jawline. And sometimes I catch myself too, like, even if I'm reading my tweets, and someone says, like, this blog post was shit, and I'm like, oh, you, god damn it, and then I feel, my body getting more tense, but then you just breathe in and then breathe out, and then you feel, okay, my jaw is relaxed and my shoulders are relaxed as well. I just accepted that I cannot please everyone. It's fine. So that's a very, very funny fact that I can relate highly to, because it's so crazy that even, like, someone said something in the morning and you didn't really take it personally, it might affect your whole day, and you keep this anger in yourself, and all these muscles tensed, and you're just stressed out, and sometimes you don't even know why. But yeah, I think it's important to increase your self-awareness.
So okay. Oh, you had something to say?
Yeah. No. Just to repeat your question, I'm ready to answer it about when did I become more self-aware. But if you want to ask something else, let's do it.
No. Go ahead.
Okay. So I think the whole journey began when I was still in London, and I was kind of I felt that, I'm not living fully to my potential. I didn't like studying in Denmark. I didn't like working in London because of the weather, because of the sometimes the values were not aligned with mine, and I felt something is wrong, and I felt that I'm not really living fully that I could. So I started looking, what other people that are highly successful. And for me, success is there are many successes in life. You have success in health, you have success in relationships, you have success even in reading books. So I had to become successful in many different things. And I started I started reading about all of these routines and habits of successful people and how they start their days, what they do throughout the days, and how they upgrade their life. And one of the things that was coming up quite a lot was mindfulness and meditation. And I thought there must be something, it cannot be just some kind of a fancy trend that people are talking about it. And I dig deeper, and I saw that there are so many people who are actually affected, and they're thankful for meditation because they achieved what they didn't even think they're gonna achieve. So, for example, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was a bodybuilder, then he became an actor, then he became a businessman, then he became the governor of California, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
And
correct.
he, in one of the podcasts, I think with Tim Ferriss, he was talking about transcendental meditation, and in one of the early period of his acting career, I believe, he said that he meditated for 2 years. He practiced this transcendental meditation, and it completely transformed his life. He became more calm, more peaceful, more present, more grounded, and he credited most of his success because of that experience, because throughout these 2 years he got so good at that practice that he felt all of the results and benefits of that meditation throughout his life. So I started to see that there are so many people that were practicing meditation in one way or another, but it was not really that public.
So, it's fascinating that you said that. Also, whenever I'm trying to approach a new area, I'm trying to learn new things, my approach has been to find the most successful people in that area and sort of study them, or if I can find them, to be friends with them or mentors,
Yeah.
so that I can learn from them. That's how I do. So when I have been approaching some people that I look up to, whether through books or direct, the same concept of meditation was popping up, almost like 80% of them.
Crazy.
One of them being Steve DeStante, who was on this podcast as well. He's from Long Island, New York. He manages a clean investment company called VentureBird. They manage over $1 billion of.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and he's a Tesla guy. So we're chatting about Teslas and entrepreneurship. But that's episode number 28 for the 28 and 29 for the people listening.
If need to give it a listen.
Yeah. So he came back to the same concept. He says meditation is something that he can never do in a day without giving it a few minutes, because it does change a few things on his on how he feels, how he can relate with other people, and keeps him calm. So I tried meditation. I don't do it as much as I should, but I try. Whenever I do it, it actually makes a difference. But I think I abuse it, because I usually meditate on a day where I'm like super stressed. And then I'm like, okay, I need to sit down, take an ice bath or something, then I can calm myself down. Now, let's talk about productivity hacks. Now if you're trying to transition from, saying, working from a cubicle 9 to 5 to doing your own thing, you generally work a lot more than you do when you're working on a job, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
For example,
double that.
Yeah, totally. For example, now I have like 3 or 4 jobs. Very hectic. For you, how do you make yourself balance? How do you balance and be able to do all those things at once and manage?
Yeah. I think I was not really aware of this concept, but I was always kind of practicing it, and it popped up in a couple of books. One of them being James Altucher, Choose Yourself, then Grant Cardone, The 10X Rule, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And the message in these books that I kind of perceived from these books was to take full ownership of your life, or like full responsibility of what things are happening around you and in your life. And I think it really kind of resonates with me, because I believe that you must be completely responsible for everything that's happening around you. So, for example, if electricity, if there's no electricity, it gets cut off here, or there's no Wi-Fi during this podcast, it's my responsibility. I had to think about, okay, what is going to happen if there's a huge storm and then electricity gets cut off and I cannot record this podcast. I have my phone with 4G data. Maybe I can just connect quickly to the phone and we can keep going. And if my phone is dying soon, then it's another thing that I didn't really think about or didn't fully took responsibility of. And I think I was kind of practicing this when I was still in high school or like elementary school, whatever, because I felt that, okay, doing homework is just big nonsense. I don't care about most of the classes, but I was good at there because I was kind of present in the class and I could do homework pretty quickly. But I never did it because of fear or expecting that someone is going to guarantee me my future and guarantee me something because I'm just handing in these homeworks all the time. But just like choosing to do what is necessary for me was, I think, the trick, because that developed high, like not really high, you don't probably say that, a very strict discipline and high standards for myself. And I knew that if anything there is and I want to get it, it's my responsibility. Whether it's to control 1,000 people, whether it's to, go out and talk to these people, whether it's to learn this skill, it's my job, and no one is going to do it. And I think after, like I was not really aware when I was in school about this concept, and then I was kind of like practicing it. And then I started following all of these influential people, successful people, and I saw that they're talking about this concept a lot. And I think one of the most famous is Oprah, that she talked about, like, you must understand that you must take full responsibility of your life in order to get results that you want. So one of the things is this one that allows me to be more productive. And it's a lot of times I just talk to people, you just do what you want, like try many things, try to discover yourself. But at the same time, you must be very realistic. You got to have to do a lot of dirty jobs to get what you want. And if you can accept this reality, and if you can just blame only yourself, you can accept blaming just yourself, not everyone else. So I could blame the last week. I think we had huge storms here in Vilnius, and electricity was cut off in my apartment for 2 days. So right, I can blame the electricity company, I can blame the god, the weather, whatever. But it's not gonna change anything. I'm just gonna kind of outsource responsibility for myself. It's my responsibility, right? So I think this one helps me to be very realistic. And sometimes I wake up and I feel like, even though I love my job, sometimes there are so many jobs that I just don't feel like doing, like pitching new clients, preparing the work of scope, preparing the roadmap, responding all the PR emails, interviewing people, or like doing boring research. Some of the stuff I delegate to my VA, some of the stuff to my partners, some of the stuff I need to decline. So just like simple no, But all of that takes time, and not everything is kind of enjoyable for me. But it's necessary for me to get done in order to reach my mission, to empower 1 million people to change their lifestyle. And right now I'm writing a book, and some mornings I feel like I don't feel like writing, or like I start doubting myself. But then I need to come back to this responsibility. No one is gonna care that I didn't have courage or inspiration or motivation to write a chapter of that book. I owe to them a big deal. So when people ask why I do things that I do, is that I learned mostly online. I learned from people just like you, producing podcasts, creating content, connecting with other people, and introducing them to new audiences. And I really feel responsible for that knowledge, because you took your time, you invested a lot of even like finances and money. Well, it's pretty much the same. So you invested a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and you sacrificed a lot of things in order to produce this content and give it for people, most of the time free of charge. And I feel responsible for all of these authors of the books, for all of these video creators and tutorial writers, and all of the stuff that they created, because this impacted my life so profoundly that I'm able to live my lifestyle. And if I'm just keeping everything for myself, I think it's very selfish. So I feel like, okay, sometimes you just need to do a lot of dirty jobs, just to give back to these people that allowed you to live the way you want to live. And these kind of concepts, I think, are the internal motivation for me. So I wake up and I feel like, I feel like shit. I'm not doing anything today. But then I come back. Who am I? I'm just being selfish. So I just get back and I feel okay. This one is very hard task, and then I can choose two ways. I can choose the easy way and just kind of like procrastinate and do it next week or next time, or I can choose the hard way. And once again, the self-awareness comes into the game, and then you hear your mind saying, Thomas, just take the easy path. Just let's chill. There's no one, no one at stakes here. And my job is not like making doing the open heart surgery. It's not really going to change people's lives instantly. Like it's not like die or live. But I believe that my job, my work has a lot of impact on the long term, and especially if you can transform people on their kind of personal level. So not like addressing nations or groups or communities, but addressing a single individual. I think this is where the biggest change can start, and then you can actually start impacting communities and nations, because you started from the individual. And I think it's very easy to forget that, the power of one. And I think Gary Vee talks about the power of one, power of just one follower, of one view, of one reader, because everything starts from one. It's not just that it just starts, from 1 million, impacting just 1 million right now. So I think these kind of things really motivate me internally. And then externally, I try to do a lot of things like, meditation, taking care of my body. So again, like going through all of this pain and suffering every single day, and going to the gym, running or playing basketball. Well, playing basketball is more enjoyable, but at the same time, you're kind of taking care of your body. And I and I feel that if I don't take care of my body, meditation, eating healthy, and waking up at the same time, going to bed at the same time, exercising, I feel to kind of give in to these excuses, like I feel tired today, I feel sick, I should do this, I shouldn't do that, and I think these external kind of factors, like not taking care of your body and your surroundings, start to affect your work a lot. Because if you are not really peaceful inside of you, you cannot really do a good job, because then you have doubts, or you have worries. You're thinking, oh, okay, I didn't really exercise for a week. I feel like my back, my lower back pain is increasing, and probably I need to see a doctor, and so on and so on. So once you have these simple problems that can be easily solved or prevented, your work quality suffers, and you don't feel like working on external work. So I think these kind of concepts really drive me. But obviously there are many things, like practical things that I apply. So one of the things is 2-minute rule. I try to use it as much as possible, and it works perfectly with washing dishes. so there's just a cup and a plate, after having breakfast, basically eggs, and there's not much to wash. But most of the time you're thinking, I'm just too lazy, I'm just going to keep it until the next time, and I'm going to do it next time. But then I catch myself making an excuse and say, okay, be a warrior, It's going to take probably 40 seconds, no more than 2 minutes. Just do it now. Yeah, and I just do it. And the same is with emails. If the email comes and I need to decline, for example, it still takes a lot of energy, It's not nice to kind of decline people all the time, but I need to get used to it if I want to reach the next level. Because if you're just pleasing everyone, you're staying at the same level, and you're not really sacrificing good for great. So
speaking of complaining and procrastinating, so many people are complainers out there, man. It's like, I hate complaining, and I see it a lot sometimes when I'm working with other people. and you see something, a little thing happens, and they're just gonna put their whole energy to bash it, like, oh, it was this thing happened, and I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, yes, it happened. Then what the heck are we gonna do now? I don't give a damn, like, that thing happened. If it's not that significant to your life, you didn't lose your limb, or it didn't happen to your spouse or anybody you care about. It's just like a natural phenomenon or whatever it is, So you can constantly put your energy on something you can control. And at the same time,
Exactly.
I find I'm working on a project with someone, and you need something to get done now, and they need perfection. So it's always this thing of, no, we're gonna do it once this thing happened. I remember we had to take photos with me and my colleagues sometimes for our website. So I said, guys, give me some of the good photos that you have so that we can take it and put it on the website. They're like, I think, what would be best is that we take photos that look the same, so we take it all at the same time. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Then arrange that photo shoot. It never happened. Every time I bring it up, it's like, no, I don't really like those photos. I think we should take another one. So, okay, it's a good idea that we want to take better ones. But if you don't do it, it doesn't mean anything. So
Exactly.
It still ended
No progress.
It still ended up me getting all the odd photos and use them, because that was the only practical way to do it.
Yeah.
And speaking of Gary Vee, he's one of those guys where when I'm procrastinating in the morning, I'm supposed to wake up now, but I'm like, okay, maybe an hour later, because I usually sleep late in the morning anyway. And I look at him, I look at my phone, like my Instagram, and you see he's up, like, he's up creating stuff. It's like all the time, dude. So I'm like, okay, so if he, on his level, if he's still, standing up and making things happen, how about me? The other guy that I look up to is Diddy. Most guys must follow Sean Combs. Most guys must follow him on Instagram.
Oh yeah, PD, yeah.
Yeah. So he's kind of like Gary Vee in some sort. Like, he's always working, and he shares his experiences, what he's doing now, and you see, like, almost all the time his Instagram live or status is on, because it's up to something. Then I'm in my bed, I'm like sleeping. Then I look and I'm like, oh damn, man, I have to wake up and go do something. And you talked about something fascinating to me about some practical ways to actually keep moving. And one of the ways that I actually discovered for myself is sometimes I feel more grumpy, or I just not motivated, or like I just feel like something is wrong to start something to keep going. And I usually found that the solution sometimes I just need to go as simple as going to the toilet. And it took me a very long time to admit to that fact that, okay, when I feel like this sometimes, it's usually I just need to take a dump and come back. And
Exactly.
It changes everything.
Happened a couple of times for me too, man.
Yeah.
Can relate to that.
And sometimes just to go out for a run and come back, it changes everything.
Yeah.
So talking about time saving now, we're on this podcast, we have covered a lot. Most people have heard me talking about social media and how it affects you, but at the same time I have to point that social media works for me. It actually does work for me more than most people, because I use it to my own advantage. It's a tool. I use it as a tool. But what are other ways to keep productive and save time that you use? I personally use just to share with people out there, I use Wonderlast to actually keep notes. It's a free app that you can use on iOS, on Android, on PC. So I use like 4 computers, and I have it on all of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's all synced.
And it's synced easily, right?
Yeah. So there's Evernote as well, but Evernote you have to pay for it to get some certain features. But Wonderlast is easy. So you just it's easily synced. And I use Boomerang. You probably know it. It's
extension for Gmail, right?
For Gmail, yeah. So you can write an email and schedule it for a certain time. Like, I will receive an email. Sometimes I don't have time to reply it, and I usually work till late, like 2 in the morning or 3 sometimes. Then I just write it and schedule it to say send at 9 o'clock in the morning. That kind of saves me a lot of time, or sending emails at a weird time for other people. you know. Or
Yeah.
sometimes you can use it for evil if you're on a 9 to 5 gig where you you send your emails late and your boss will think that you're working really hard and late.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Another hack.
yeah. So the other things like that. I don't know
Yeah.
what are other things that you can share with people that you use.
I actually used Wunderlist. Wunderlist. I'm not really sure how they pronounce Wunderlist. They sold to Microsoft for some reason. I thought like, oh, they're probably gonna shut down the support for it and so on and so on. And then I switched to Todoist. So it's a very similar app. But what I like is their prioritization and scheduling tool. So for example, right now, if I have something on my mind, I just come here and just dump it there in the inbox. And once it's in the inbox, I spend every single day in the morning, and you can probably on Wunderlist do the same and many other to-do apps. You can schedule a recurring task. So every single morning, 9:30, I have a task, which is P1, priority one, plan my day. So I just go through all of this inbox stuff, and I see what I need to do, and then I'm gonna assign priority one, priority two, priority three, and this for me mostly does the job because I'm not really trying to be too optimistic that I'm gonna finish a lot of stuff today. So I have P1, P2, P3, and if I'm done with just P1, I'm gonna be satisfied for that day. So I go through all of these tasks, and also we have different tags and kind of projects that you can assign and organize it, and I feel that it's a little cleaner and works a little better for me, at least for myself, in my workflow than Wunderlist. Other than that, I use Spark for the email client. So all of my emails are Gmails, even though I have my own domain. I still use the G Suite, and you can see all the inboxes there. And it also has the smart inbox. So smart inbox says, for example, right now it says personal. It has the seen kind of section where I can see emails that I seen but I didn't take action. So sometimes on Gmail I would lose some of the important emails because I just opened and I didn't take action. Like marked it as in read or responded or whatever. So also it has snooze. So for example, I see this email, I click on it, and I can say snooze later today, and it's powered by artificial intelligence, and later today it's not going to be the same time. It's going to be, for example, it's 11 a.m. in the morning now, and later today is going to be 2 p.m. So at 2 p.m. it's going to remind me about that email. But if I'm clicking on that snooze at 3 p.m., it's really going to remind me at 7 p.m. Then you have most common shortcuts like tomorrow, next week, or someday. So I have some of the emails snoozed for someday because they're not really important, but I don't want to lose them. I might access them in half a year, and I'm gonna think like, oh my goodness, this is gold mine. Also, you can archive. I'm not really sure if you can schedule emails like with a boomerang, but I didn't really have the need for it. I think it's really handy tool to schedule your emails, but I didn't really have the need because I'm trying to be not really dependent on email. So many people know that sometimes they might need to wait for a week or a couple of days to get a response from me. And I used to have inspired by Tim Ferriss again, the signature that's saying I'm not really checking my email more than twice a week, even though I was checking every day. But that gave me time. To not be responsible for responding right away. And many people have all of these trackers right now, so they can see that I'm opening their emails. But I'm very open that I have my priorities for the day, and if I let everyone with their emails dictate my day, I'm just not gonna get anything done. So even if I saw your email, okay, I acknowledge that fact. I'm not gonna say I didn't see your email, but right now it's not priority 1 or 2 for me to respond to you. So I'm gonna take a couple of days, and it might need to give. I might need to give more thinking about it, or I might need to contact someone or whatever. So this is how I use my email. But once again, one of the most default things for me is the answer no. So I try to decline as many things as possible. And the same is with like physical appointments or not really relationships. But if someone is inviting me, to event, just let's go to this restaurant opening. I'm like, sorry, no, I need to get some stuff done. Or if someone offers me to let's collaborate on this new project. You're gonna be one of the co-founders or whatever. It sounds so tempting. It's amazing, but I know that I'm already committed to this project. If I take my commitment from this project, both projects are going to suffer because I'm not going to be fully there and not fully into my project. So again, other things after the no is delegate, or well, no, it's pretty much delete. So I try to delete as many as possible, so decline them or delete. But with PR agencies, you cannot just ignore them. Like these guys, if you just delete their email, which is the quickest way, after a couple of days they're gonna follow up and say, sorry, did you see my email? And if you delete that email, after a week they're gonna follow up again. I think it's kind of their job. So I need to cut things right away and say thank you for reaching out, but at this moment I'm not really interested. I'm gonna be in touch if anything comes up, Right. And then this kind of ends the future distractions, and I think this is very important, because if I'm not investing 30 seconds to respond to this email and just spend a couple of seconds deleting, this is going to create a lot of mental and physical distraction in my inbox and my head in the future, because then they're going to be following up, and my guilt might be also getting bigger, because I'm like, I didn't do this earlier, and I'm like kind of wasting their time, I'm wasting my own time, and there's so many things. So I'm trying to delete or like kind of say no to everything, to most of the things possible. The second thing is to delegate. So I have friends or kind of partners or just someone that I can delegate. So for example, if it's with an agency and the client needs to know more about the services, maybe jump on a call and talk about their business, our services, I always delegate that to my partner. I'm not really working with handling clients and the initial step of selling. I would jump in when the client is committed, and then I would try to really get deep and see where we can provide the most value, where we can use our connections, our experience, our team, and so on and so on. But if it's just selling and kind of wasting time, it's not really wasting time. It's just not my job. I just delegate it to my partner. If someone comes to me and they say, I need a website done or a blog done, I really like your style, and so on and so on. Well, I cannot really focus on that. I'm not doing this anymore. So then I'm again like delegating to someone, whether it's a commission-based reference, or I'm just giving it to one of the person that I trust, and I know that they're gonna do a very good job, which is good for them, which is good for client, and good for my image. And then just recently I hired my second VA. The first one was from here, Lithuania, but we were working like remotely. And this one is from Pakistan. And we're
sorry, just explain what a VA is for people who are not familiar.
VA. So VA is a virtual assistant, and most of the people online just refer to it as VA, just short for virtual assistant. So virtual assistants, they can be any kind of types, and essentially just a freelancer. So you can have a graphic designer VA, so graphic designer virtual assistant, which is just basically graphic designer freelancer doing, per project based work or hourly work or contract work. So you can hire them for a project, hire them for a week, or have them recurring on a monthly basis. So right now I have a general VA, and she helps me a lot with research. So whether I'm trying to write a new article, I would say just research, 7 biggest publications on health and find what they are talking about, blood pressure or whatever. And then she would do that, and this saves me a lot of time.
Yeah.
I would say identify 50 lifestyle design influencers in the world and find their Twitter follower number or something. So this is like very simple task, but it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm still learning to delegate, but because sometimes I'm just gonna be like, I can just do it myself, like explaining everything in an email is gonna take the same time as doing the task.
Absolutely.
But it's very beneficial if you identify recurring tasks. So whether it's research, whether it's helping me to prepare my email newsletter, whether it's to monitoring my Twitter or Instagram or Facebook conversations happening there. It's all recurring. It's happening all the time. And I found out that writing an email takes a lot of time, most of the time it's not very clear. They have questions. So right now what I use, I just open QuickTime on Mac, and you can create what is a screencast, like record a screen with the sound. So I would just do it very dirty, unedited version of how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to say, okay, just open Todoist app, and they can see I'm opening it. Then I'm going to say click on inbox, then they can see the inbox. And I'm going to say click on the first one, add priority number 2. If this task is this, then add priority 3, and so on and so on. And I would show the exact workflow, the exact things I'm doing, and the exact things I'm expecting her to do. And it worked wonders, like seeing the video and seeing how I'm actually doing and talking about it. Most of the time they get it from the first time, no questions asked, and it takes just, well, if the task takes 5 minutes to do, I record a video in 5 minutes, and I don't need to spend half an hour, 40 minutes writing an email trying to kind of come up with words to explain this thing or this button. And most of the time, there are some differences on different screen sizes or different operating systems. So I think this kind of way helped me to delegate a lot of tasks that take very little time but add up throughout the time, taking most of your time. I think these management administration administrational tasks. So yeah.
So before I forget, on Gmail Smart, you said, do you pay for that service? Because I don't think I'm using that yet.
Yeah, it's Gmail Suite.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure how G Suite.
G Suite, okay. I will check it out.
So it's basically you connect your domain, and you get the same Gmail experience together with Google Drive and all the docs and everything. So it's the same as having a normal Gmail account, but it's with your domain.
Oh, I did that. I think I did that. I connected my domain to my Gmail, so I see my personal emails from my domain into Gmail, but I don't know if I can do the whole thing of tomorrow and all these kind of features that you spoke about. So maybe I should look into it. If you pay for it, then there's definitely more. There's kind of a premium service for it, I guess. And one thing that
sorry. So for this, I think I was talking about the Spark app. So it's the email client for Mac, and it's just called Spark. If you just Google Spark email, you're gonna find it's completely free.
Spark.
And it's really clean design, and I think you need to get used to it at the very beginning, because I was working mostly on Gmail, and the interface is completely different. But you have all of the inboxes, and you can see, for example, right now I use 4 emails, and I can see 4 emails there, and I have collective inbox, but I can see just inbox for that email if I click on that email. Right. So I think it's very interesting.
So before we move on from the subject of productivity, a few things that I want to share with people. So I use Wunderlist, like I said, but now if I'm working in front of my computer, I write a note of what I'm supposed to be doing then, and I stick it in front of me, so that whenever I'm distracted, I'm watching a YouTube video or anything in that respect, it reminds me, like, dude, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. And so I give each task a set of time that I want to spend on it. And then if I finish early, the remaining time I can use it to do whatever I want. There's a video that I want to see, or there's somebody I need to chat to, or whatever like that. Then I use that time to actually play around with it. And that trick that you said of designing kind of like an auto response of saying I don't always check my emails, or I always check them twice a day. I have the same, but I use it on WhatsApp, because I don't know about in Lithuania or in Venice right now. I don't know if how much usage do you get. Is it your primary app? But here WhatsApp is kind of like everybody's using it for text messaging. So what I did, I just put on my WhatsApp status that Gray does not chit chat, and put a link to my website or whatever. So most people know that I do not always reply as they expect me to. So I always rate the message. I read it. If I don't think I have to reply immediately, I will keep it. So whenever it comes out, and nobody blames me for it, because there's a something saying that
Yeah,
I don't always reply. So
you stated, yeah, it clearly.
it's clear. Yeah,
And
and
I think it's very important. Yeah, just keep going.
oh, sorry. I just wanted to finish with you said something about when people are inviting you to things and you don't want to go, or you thinking about going or not. I have this mental trick that I use. I also had a problem of where if somebody say, okay, dude, it's first Thursdays in Cape Town tonight, let's go and have some dinner and all these kind of things. And I would go and later regret that, oh man, I would have worked on X, Y, and Z. So now what I do is that if I get invited, I say no. And then I tell myself, oh, if it was the old me, I would have accepted that. So that creates kind of like, it tricks my mind to thinking that, okay, it was me, but it used to be the old me. Now this new version doesn't do that anymore. So it just became a reality over time. Yeah, that's what I just wanted to say. And what have you read on relationships?
Relationships is also very interesting, and
to me that's very tough still.
It is tough. I think it's probably the hardest thing. I think making money is easy. Relationships is hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you need to show up all the time. You have to be very honest. You have to have no expectations. So what I learned, the communication is the key. Whether it's business, whether business or personal relationship, or your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, you need to be very open with communication and be very open with your thinking on your expectations. Because right now I'm dating a Thai girl, so it's completely different culture, right? I cannot expect her one or the other thing because of my culture, because she cannot just imagine what is it like to be here in Lithuania. The same way is for me. I cannot imagine what is it like to be in Thailand, and culture differences, and age is not that big difference, but some people have age differences. I think it's very important to get clear at the very beginning. This is who I am. These are my weaknesses. These are my strengths. And if anything is unclear or you don't understand everything I'm saying or everything I'm meaning, expecting, just say it now and say it right away. It's much better to feel awkward and kind of be shy or even feel guilty, saying what you want or what you don't like, instead of just letting it add up over time, and then at some point it's going to be a huge problem. So anytime I feel that, okay, probably we shouldn't stay up late because I feel that I'm performing much better in the morning. Let's go. I'm going. You can stay here until 10, 11. I'm going to bed at 9, and I'm gonna, follow my routine. This is okay if you say it, but if you just don't say it and people don't know your intentions, you kind of start getting moody at 8:30, and you're kind of getting angry, and people ask what is wrong, and you're like, nothing, everything's fine, and in your mind you're thinking like, shit, I'm kind of like ruining my routine. Why am I even here? Well, like, why how did I end up in this position, and so on and so on. So I think it's very interesting. Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off. What I meant is, that also adds to, if you find the right person who can sort of understand your ecosystem, and to me, I think that's a very hard thing. It's like, how do you find the most compatible person to understand your craziness? Like, why, because you find people asking, why do you even need a routine, So
yeah, like, routines are boring. Like, why would you do it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the compatibility is also in one way is a myth, because I don't think you can find a perfect person.
Sure.
There's a very powerful quote by probably unknown or someone that I cannot really remember, but they say that everyone is trying to find someone perfect, but no one is trying to be perfect. So before you're trying to find the most beautiful, the smartest, the richest, the most connected, the most motivated, whatever, the most talented person, at the beginning just try to be that perfect for someone else. And I think once you focus on that, really understanding other people and seeing that no one is perfect, no one is actually going to like everything in you, and you're not going to like everything in them, and just again, like, agreeing well, accepting the reality the way it is, that okay, some people are, they like to have fun, and they like socializing, and this is what drives them. Okay, that's fine. For me, it's different. I like to focus on deep work. I like to kind of like challenge myself and see where I can go next, what kind of impact I can make on the world, on the other people, and this drives me, and it's completely fine. I think these two people can still operate together, but they have to come to agreement that they're not going to be on the same path, and sometimes one of the person will need support in one area, other person will need support in another area. So I think when everything is clear, what everyone is expecting, and they're not trying to kind of become mind readers or blame someone, why you didn't understand me, why you didn't show up there, well, you didn't tell me. Well, that's pretty easy, right? Like if you don't tell, people cannot know because you didn't express the fact or the need or the emotion, whatever. So I think communication is the key. And then again, instead of just running away from the problems and trying to get the new clothes, new house, new friends, or whatever, new job, I think it's very important to see why it doesn't fit. And if it occurs over and over and over again, there's something broken inside of you probably. And instead of chasing new things, see how you can fix it. And I think this comes back to self-awareness and kind of examining and discovering yourself. And most of these things come from the childhood, I think. So for example, when I was growing up, I was very competitive. And when I look back right now, I think I was very competitive because I had very good relationship with my mom, but not as good relationship with my dad. And he was not always just like celebrating my little wins as my mom did. And I think from that time I developed that drive to compete and kind of say, like I win this, if I achieve this and that, then probably my dad is gonna say, well, Thomas, that's a good job. That's a really big win. Yeah, that's impressive, and you're doing a good job. Because I knew that, these little wins, if I draw something, if I read nicely, he's not going to recognize me. He didn't give a shit about it. But I thought that if I'm, achieving this or that, then I'm going to be the son he wanted me to be. And I think that's why I'm kind of like, challenging myself and trying to grow and evolve all the time, transform myself. And even now, like I'm talking to him, and he's already prouder than he could ever be of me, and I'm kind of thankful for him for this service that probably he was not really aware of, for not just congratulating me on every single little thing, because it's life, everyone does that, everyone reads, everyone draws. So in a way, I think this kind of competitive mindset and this growth mindset came from my childhood. And I think once people start kind of analyzing themselves, what could have happened in the first grade or even before first grade? Maybe I was abused. Maybe I met someone that impacted my life in one or the other way. And I think reflecting back to that time, you can start seeing that, okay, all my life I was just looking for approval. All my life I was just looking for someone to understand me. I was looking for someone to talk to or whatever. Maybe in my family I didn't really have people around me that I felt confident with, being vulnerable, being intimate or whatever. So I think this is very important, and many people don't do that, and they just keep running away from their problems, from their fears. And once you go, let's say you live in Vilnius, you go to London, problem is the same. You go to Germany, problem is the same. It's not that you're running away from it, it's within you, so you cannot really run away until you confront it. So yeah, I think these are the main things I learned about relationships. And I told you, it's so hard. Wow, it's like making money, just like create a product, find people who want it, sell it, done. Relationships not that easy. So
I think relationships are constantly changing. And look, you said it's good to communicate and set standards of saying, okay, this is my type, this is the personality that I am, and you're this, and we can just work it out like this. The problem is, to some people it sounds like a contract, and they don't want to go into a relationship with all these kind of rules built around it. But I suggest for a person like you definitely have those aligned. And you're
it sounds actually like a contract. Like if you don't wash dishes, I'm gonna do
Yeah.
this.
So you're ENTJ as a personality, right?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
INTJ, so we're a little bit similar.
Virtual high five.
Yeah, visual high five for sure. What does that mean for other people who don't understand that?
I didn't really believe in. Well, actually, my first letter changed from I to E, so introverted to extroverted,
Right.
and I was very introverted when I was living in this, like village surroundings. I grew up in a village with 5 houses, so very, very rural place. And then I moved to a place with I don't know how many houses, a lot more, but probably 300 people maximum. So I always had this, how do you say? It's not really weakness, but I felt that I'm not worthy of being, around a lot of people because I didn't know many people. I was not from a rich or famous family, and I grew up in this little, village, and I was just a village boy. So for me, I didn't really have that confidence of just getting out and saying what I think. So for a long time, I avoided, especially online, I avoided expressing my real opinion or expressing my real point of view or my real kind of thinking or way of thinking. And only probably in the last 5 years, I started challenging myself and saying, okay, I hear this voice in my head saying, uh, well, you shouldn't talk to this girl, or you shouldn't talk to this other startup founder, or you shouldn't talk to this designer, because all of these excuses come up, and you're going to be exposed as stupid. No one is going to care about you, and so on and so on. And then I would say, okay, I'm just going to do it anyway. One, two, three, I go there, and I don't have anything prepared. So most of the time, my introduction is, "Blah, blah, blah," and they're like, sorry, what? Hello, I'm sorry. My name is Tom. How are you? And like the conversation starts so funny that they already think I'm some kind of a freak. But these like constant challenges allowed me to kind of get better with your rejection. And most of the time, people, they don't really reject you if you just ask, hello, how are you, what's your name? Usually they're gonna say their name. It's not that you're asking to marry them or give you money or whatever. So I got more comfortable with this kind of rejection thing. I got rejected a couple of times, and then first time, of course, they are kind of painful. But after that, you can see like, well, I'm not really dying. No one is gonna chop off my hands or my feet, whatever. So again, why I started doing this, because at that time I was designer, and well, still kind of aspiring designer. And at that time I started to learn more about the startup world, about entrepreneurship, and I saw these people, they're like kind of different people. They think differently, they act differently, they don't whine or complain that much. They see
Yes.
opportunities everywhere. And I saw like I must surround myself with these people. And if I want to become an entrepreneur, I must learn how to talk to people. I must learn how to connect with them. And one of the game-changing things was the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. It was so simple, and these stories in the book were so common sense, but I needed them, to understand the concept and the power of getting interested in other people, remembering their names, smiling, and trying to provide value first instead of trying to get something from them. And I just applied this book, and it completely transformed my life in like a couple of, or 2 or 3 years. And I started to see that I'm feeling much more comfortable with talking to strangers. Well, right now it's for me pretty much the same. And some of the people here in Lithuania, where kind of northern country, they're kind of reserved. And when I'm just like acting completely the same like I'm doing with my best friends, sometimes they look at me and they're like saying like, we don't do this in Lithuania, like this is not good, or like you shouldn't do this and that. So sometimes I feel that I'm even too comfortable with strangers, because they don't really relate to my experiences or kind of like internal jokes or the things I learned. And I sometimes forget that I might need this transitional talk or this transitional story or something to get them on the same page so they can understand me better. and at the same time for me to understand them better, because if they see that, okay, this guy is some kind of freak, I'm just not gonna be honest and tell everything I think. So I think this is very important. But but yeah, and before I did the test, and my results were with introverted, so it would start with I. But just 2 years ago, I think I did the test again, and it turns out it's 55% or something extroverted. So it went from introverted to extroverted, even though it's not like dominating.
Yeah.
It's almost at the middle. But it kind of like switched from introverted to extroverted, and it's very funny because I still think I'm very introverted. I really value time being on my own and, like focusing and getting job done. But at the same time, I feel that I get really energized with meeting people. But again, it has to be the right kind of people. If people are really like naysayers and non-believers or whatever,
Complainers.
yeah, exactly. I feel like, oh my, this is going nowhere, like I'm hitting the wall.
Yeah.
I'm getting frustrated. They don't understand. They kind of like, they don't even value their own time or my own time. Just say you're not interested, turn away and go. But yeah, these might be draining, but generally I feel a lot more meeting cool people and being around them. So this test is, I think it's Myers-Briggs test.
Yeah.
It's called probably it's psychological test, and I think it's one of the most famous in the world personality tests. And I believe there are 16 personality tests. So if you just go to website 16 personalities, just Google it, you can do the free test. I think it takes 10-15 minutes, and be as honest as possible, and just don't overthink. So I did it twice. So first one in the last 2 years or something, and this one just a month ago. And I was, like kind of curious, what is gonna happen right now? Probably I'm kind of like, maybe I was lying to myself the first time or this or that, but the result came out the same. So I think it's pretty accurate, and it's good to know your hidden motivations, what drives you, what drains you, what energizes you, and then you can see what is actually compatible with you, like other people. And I think understanding other people also, so like giving the personality test to people you work with, coworkers, your friends, your family, even like your girlfriend, your boyfriend. I think it's gonna give you more understanding of the way they think. So some people might be motivated by more logical causes, but other people might be motivated by emotional causes. So you can see that this person really values security, stability, and knowing what is next, while other people, they prefer like taking risks and kind of imagining all the wild things that might happen, but they don't really care about stability or stress.
Sounds like me.
So yeah, so I think just knowing these things about the people you work with, you can see, okay, I need to work with this person in this way because they prefer being stable and informed, while other person might be waiting for my email for a week, and he won't give a shit, he doesn't really care unless I don't respond ever. So I think it's very important test to first like do it yourself to understand yourself, and you might see some of the things that validate your kind of hidden expectations, and some of the things might be new. So I think it's very powerful.
So just to make it clear to people, ENTJ means it's an acronym for extroversion, intuition, thinking, and judgment. And like I said, I'm an INTJ. But look, I did take this test like 3 years ago, and it came out introversion, intuition, thinking, and judgment. I don't know if I would take it again, it would change, because I also, like you, came out very introverted. I think it's mostly because at a certain stage of my life, like I concentrated too much on learning the things that I was interested in, and it's like 90% computer related stuff. So I spent a few years of my life just like in my room, in my house. I sort of disconnected with all my friends and just like learning the things. I was just like nerding out on things that I wanted to know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Paying the price.
Exactly. So, and then I moved to Cape Town, and it was a whole new world. There's so many different types of people here from all over the world, and it's kind of a social city. And with the directions now that I started to take, they were driving me towards those being sort of an extrovert, so that I can communicate better with people. And I was like scared shitless. And some of the tricks that I used were, I started couch surfing. We have talked on this subject on this podcast. For some people who want to check it out. And this podcast actually started with me interviewing my couch surfers. So it was one of the things that I tried to do to get better at expressing myself. Another thing that I read, I can't remember which book, was if I go in a social environment, I would talk to the hottest girl in that circle. You can imagine how tricky and sweaty I would
face slapped.
Yes. So, that helped me to quickly come out comfortable and confident to communicate with people. So I don't know if I would change. I would take the test again. It would probably change. I don't know. But definitely my social competency or awareness would definitely be higher than before. Yeah. So I think this is a great point to end it. Thanks so much, man. This was a blast. I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too as well.
Cool,
Thank
man.
you so much for the invitation.
Cheers, man. Have a nice day.
You too.
All right. Hello, and right before you go, I just want to let you know that the Grey F podcast comes out every week, and it depends, sometimes on Mondays, sometimes on Tuesdays. But most importantly, you can subscribe so that you get notified whenever I upload a new episode. And you can do this in many ways, whichever works for you. But I'm on iTunes, the Grey F podcast, SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn, and on my website as well. So if you're on any of those platforms, you can just subscribe. And I would also appreciate if you leave me a 5-star review on iTunes. That helps the podcast a lot. And this is my episode, I think, number 57. I've done 50 episodes. All the guests from like around the world, different types of people, and different types of curious minds, which you can also learn from. So I recommend to check out some of the previous podcasts. And also, if you have some input that you want to put in, something you need to say that I can add to the podcast, you're totally welcome. And I am recording from Cape Town, South Africa. You can say hi on my website, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you.